huge personal thanks to Danielle for all of the amazing work that she's done and the facilitation that she took on in order to make this project really run the way that it did, which was, I think, really beautiful this summer. So, and also thanks to Nick for being here and for being here kind of all along the way and for being flexible with the existence of a pandemic. We were supposed to do this last year, so I'm glad that we got it done this year. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of background, and for those of you who were at the water conversations, some of this might seem just a little familiar, but I think it'll help round out the way that I think about the intersections of craft and community engagement, and then of course water and natural resources. So, the idea that I'm going to start with is that these things are all linked together through sustenance, through this way that we sort of live and work together on the Earth's surface, and that the ceramic object has a lot to do with how that comes together for me. I'm just going to read you an excerpt from this book that I've been really interested in the last couple of years. It's by an art historian named Jenny Sorkin. The book is called Live Form, Women, Ceramics, and Community. And this quote really, this is something that I think I talked about a little bit when I met Danielle for the first time. So it was modern craft and not modern art that spearheaded non-hierarchical and participatory experiences through the experiential properties endemic to craft practices and, in particular, ceramics. And I pull this out because I've sort of lived this motto in my art practice for the last 20 years or so. But when I read this in a textbook written by an art historian, it sort of blew my brain that there were actually other people out there who were talking about this and thinking about this in a real way. And I think that ceramics has this wonderful way of providing the opportunity for people to meet one another in real person and around a form of sustenance, whether it's liquid or food, right? Water or food. And I just want to give you a super brief, because I'm a teacher and I'd love to share the miraculous story of ceramics. But these are some examples of some cultures and some objects that are clearly really old, right? The piece on the left, the Jomon piece, I think is exquisite in so many ways, but the Jomon people, they live in modern-day Japan, made these pieces, and they were all functional, as in they weren't just ritual vessels. They served a purpose in daily life, but they were so exquisite, and those sort of loops, all of those things around the handles were there to actually run a rope through so that these things could be carried. Many of them, of course, carried water. There's this really interesting new research that's being conducted, actually pre-Jomon period. They found on the island of Okinawa some vessels that are now being dated to, I might get this a little bit wrong, but it's pretty close to like 20,000 years BC, which is, we're starting to look at a point in the human evolution where Homo sapiens is just really becoming itself. And so there's some new theories about the way that humans evolved next to ceramic objects, in that it corresponds to the point in human evolution when our brains really grow and our jaws really shrink, probably because we could cook our food, and that the object, the ceramic vessel, as a part of that human evolution, may very well have helped facilitate that evolution. And I'd love to think about the ceramic object as being so intertwined with human history that we potentially evolved because of it. So I think that that's just a really beautiful part of the story that is being told, I think, through this project too. And again, like you can see these are some images that you may have even seen some objects like them in some of our most famous museums. But in most cultures throughout the world, if there was a clay deposit, there was a ceramic history. And a lot of that history is, again, intertwined with both food and water. In particular, of course, the vessel helped us become cultured, and or in archaeological, sort of speak, become civilized. And what that means is that we were able to commune together and live together in larger groups. And for me, what that means is it allows us to lean and rely heavily on the expertise of the individuals in our community. So some people were really good at working with their hands, some people were really good at hunting, and of course in contemporary society, we all have ways in which we can contribute to make our society really grow and be beautiful together. And I think that that is true as we think about moving forward in climate change, that there are ways in which we are going to have to be resilient, and all of us are going to play a role in how we do that, both for ourselves but also for our environment. And so the ceramic history and the way in which water fits into that history, I think is something that is continually evolving and being made new with every passing year that we kind of move into the future of whatever climate change is going to bring us into. And of course, the ceramic object is really a part of ritual. And that is going to bring me around to my work, because in addition to, of course, it being a moment when we can commune together and just be a part of a group of humans that have something in common, which is that we need food and water, we also then tend to ritualize those moments and make things beautiful in a way that brings meaning to those moments too. And so I just wanted to give you just a super quick glimpse into some of my early work. These are pieces that I made when I was in graduate school or even pre-graduate school. And I show them to you because all throughout my history as an artist, I've been interested in the natural world as an inspiration. And they show up literally in these pieces. And then of course, throughout, and I still actually make work like this, but throughout my history as an artist, it has morphed into expressing itself in lots of different ways. And the other thing, and I think so, I put this slide in because I figured Nick would actually really get a kick out of it. I was involved in a project in 2000, somewhere between 2006 and 2009, where we installed a rain garden in just right off 7th in St. Paul. It was a really interesting project because it was the first time that I actually sort of put community action and activism even together with my art form. It really it sort of blew my mind open because it made me realize that it is possible to have all of it and more in my art practice. I can do all of it. And so I can help improve the environment. I can build community with people around me and tell stories and make objects, right? All of it can be in one practice. So from there, and of course, water has really been a thread that I've woven through my practice for many years. That's my baby, by the way. And so I'm just going to show you a few images of some projects that I've done over the years. This was one of my early storytelling projects about water. I worked with about 50 high school students who told stories about their participation in the watershed. They were actually the students who helped install that rain garden. And we transposed them onto these boat forms and then had a river ceremony. This is a project that, let me just play this because it's a really short video.
So in the medieval lodge, then half of that lodge is owned by the women and half by the men. So women are responsible for the water and men are responsible for the fire. So since the beginning of time, women have taken care of the water. And so whenever there were ceremonies, we bought the water, we went and gathered the water, offered the tobacco for the water, sang the water songs, made the petitions to the spirits to make that water sacred.
So the voice that you heard speaking was Sharon Day, who I interviewed for this project, which was a project, I circumnavigated Lake Superior with another couple of faculty members at the school that I taught at in Ashland, Wisconsin, which is called Northland College. We each brought our own sort of stories and expertise to that trip. And I think one of the people that, so I conducted interviews. I'm super curious about how Nick is going to tell a little bit more of the story of the watershed in this project, because it has really been a special project for me to be able to have this exist in the same ecosystem. So, thanks.